Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here. Unky Joe's Playhouse today. Man, this video has taken a while to make. It's been weeks in the making. It is the final video in our new build series, new used build series, featuring the Ryzen 5 series of processors. Today what we're going to do is something a little bit different. We're actually taking the Ryzen 5 1600 processor that I've been using in my main rig for a couple of years now, and we're moving it into our gaming unit with a new motherboard. So this is also going to be introducing, not introducing, everybody knows who Gerry is, right? Gerry Rigged with a Cup of Joe. And today we're kind of letting him take the lead on this video. I wanted to get a feel for how comfortable he was behind the camera. And so take pity on Gerry. Be nice in the comments section, all that good stuff. It is his first video. I think he did very well. I actually do. And now I built this unit, but Gerry did all of the software related stuff you're about to see on the unit. So I've babbled on long enough. Let's get right into the video right now. So this was sitting at my door this morning. Thank you, Amazon. It was supposed to be here late this afternoon, and actually got in early this morning before 10 a.m. It's the Aorus Pro Wi-Fi B450. Now, if you remember, if we look over here, we just got this board in the other day. And if you saw the build on Gerry's computer, we decided to go ahead and build this one out for Gerry's machine, which is the unit right down there, the white box on the floor. That's the one we built for Gerry the other day. It's going to be his workstation. That one has the AMD, or the Ryzen 5 2600 6-core 12-thread processor and 16 gig of RAM, and this motherboard. And we put that motherboard into that case because we were having some trouble with getting that motherboard to mount in my case that I prefer to use. But this motherboard is basically a shrunk down version of the B450 Aorus Pro full-size AT motherboard, with the exception of the fact that it only has one PCI Express slot on it. But it does have the Wi-Fi built into it. It does have the RGB, all the nice little stuff. And I'm assuming, since the other B450 will run a Ryzen 5 3600 processor, that this one will with a BIOS update as well. But don't quote me on that. Let's just open her up. Now, I got this because I made a boo-boo when I ordered, and I forgot that the unit I want to put this in is a MIDI ITX case. And the whole idea behind the case that this one is going to go into was that was going to be like our gaming rig slash, emulation rig. So let's get a look at the board. Now, this one does not have the integrated backplane built into it, but close enough. So there's the board itself. 2 RAM slots, 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4 serial ATA ports. I don't see an NVMe slot on here, no big deal. Power, PCI Express slot, additional power. It's got, looks like 2 fan headers that I can see so far. A USB plug, front panel bus, USB 2, and audio up there. So it's a 450 board. This is only a PCI Express 3 slot. It's not upgradable to 4. Oh, and there is an NVMe. Wow, I didn't even know it came with that, but there's an NVMe right there. So the goal is to get that put into this unit over here today, as you remember. Now this unit, this is the motherboard tray right here. This unit has an older Gigabyte motherboard, an i5 motherboard and an i5 processor. I think it's a 4570, and it's got 16 gig of RAM, but we'll repurpose this somewhere else. But the whole idea behind this case was I just kind of fell in love with this cube design Yeah, I know, it's not real practical, but I just like this case, and I thought, well, this would be good for emulation. We ran it for a while as a desktop. Right now it's got an empty slot, but we've got a DVD RW drive we're going to put in there. But I just always like that case. So what we're going to do today with this unit is we're going to install it. I've got an SSD to go in there and a spinning drive. And then we're going to load Windows 10 on it. And it's going to be, we're going to load our games off of Steam and Origin. And then we're going to load some emulators on there. And we're going to see how we like the performance of this unit. Again, it's really too big to kind of be portable or anything, but it's a cute looking little case, you know, and it makes for a, you know, a great gaming station. Alright, so let's turn the power on. Well, no magic smoke, that's a good sign. Now I'm going to see if I can get into the BIOS. Take a look, it did boot up, it's booting into Windows. Because I've already got Windows 10 on there. Anyway, but yeah, take a look inside. It's got kind of a nice little, let me kill the light here. It's got kind of a nice little lighting effect going on under the board. Not bad, you know, for a little mini ITX board. And I suppose those colors are, those are the default colors, but I would imagine they're programmable, as you can see around here. They give nice little ambient lighting. It is booting up, just so you can see. So it has booted into Windows 10, but I'm going to go ahead and do a clean load on it. But you don't need to see me doing a clean load on it. You know what those are like, pain in the ass. Alright, so here we are with Gerry of Gerry Rigged and a Cup of Joe. And Gerry was tasked with taking this combination of parts, this unit we built out of my old Ryzen 5 1600 CPU. I actually built the machine, but Gerry did the actual legwork. And he put a couple of programs on here so that we could turn this into a gaming PC. So this unit will run not only Steam games, but will run older games from our childhood. We put a couple of programs on here, one called RetroArch and one called Launchbox. And so Gerry, can you tell me why we needed both of those programs?
Okay. RetroArch is the actual core emulator for the different ROMs, and Launchbox is the interface for an emulating.
So why would I need Launchbox if I have RetroArch? I mean, what's the benefit?
Launchbox looks nicer and is easier to navigate. Everything's right there on a central page, where RetroArch you have to go through a couple of sub-menus to find what you're looking for.
So what are some of the other benefits of using Launchbox?
Well, if you have a lot of ROMs, it makes it a lot easier to keep them organized and be able to go and quickly find the ones that you play regularly.
So I've heard you talk about ROMs. What are you talking about when you talk about ROMs?
ROMs are just the digital copy of all those cartridges we used to lug around and have to blow into and get frustrated with.
So you used to blow your games?
Who doesn't?
And so where would I find these ROMs for these games?
That is a good question. The internet, that's pretty much it. Just do a Google search, talk to somebody that's done this, maybe go look online, see if you can find somebody that's done videos about these before, and you can find ROMs through those sources.
All right, Jerry, so I know with emulation, the controller is king. So what are some of the controllers you use, and what's your recommendations?
Okay. To start off, we have a generic non-name brand Nintendo 64 classic controller. This one is pretty much used just for the Nintendo 64. It seems to be the only one that simply works with them. It's not my favorite, it's also not the worst. Some of the buttons are a little iffy, they feel kind of loose when you push on them and things like that, but it works.
Yeah, and in Nintendo's defense, it's not a Nintendo actual controller,
Correct.
It's a knockoff, and I think we paid $11 for it on Amazon. It did get a good rating, but why a special controller for the Nintendo 64 games?
Nintendo seems to be the harder system to emulate just in general, and they like to make specialty controllers for their systems, and if you don't have the proper key mappings, if you just compare the Nintendo 64 to a Buffalo, you see that there's a couple differences in the key layout, and those keys are actually mapped quite a bit differently. If you notice, the D-pad controller has less buttons, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to get key mappings and for those key mappings to actually work correctly. So just with those, we found it's just easier to go out with the cheapest that we could find to get something that just worked.
So now I also see an Xbox 360 controller there. It's my understanding that probably the majority of your games you're going to be able to use that controller to play. The exception is going to be the Nintendo games. Is that correct?
Correct. So far, the Nintendo 64 are the only ones that have issues with this controller. RetroArch, you can use this controller actually to navigate the menus. When it comes to Launchbox and the actual running the games, this one seems to work without any setup for most of them, with a couple of different, if you're used to playing the original game, the button configuration may be a little bit different, but it works. You can play the game.
And you can remap those buttons to be whatever you want. And you can do that on a game-by-game basis, is my understanding, correct?
Correct. Each game in Launchbox has a configuration that you can set up for it to run different controllers as the default. When you do go with one of these wireless, whether it's the Xbox, there's also the PlayStation 4. I've heard a lot of other people that play this say is their favorite, but you have to make sure you get one of these adapters. Just a simple USB to wireless controller adapter.
Yeah, I think we got that set up on, I think we got that wireless receiver for 15 or 20 bucks, and it's an actual Microsoft Xbox 360 receiver. So when would you use the lower end D-pad controllers?
I found that I use them more with playing just the regular Nintendo games where they're used to only be a couple of buttons and the D-pad. These extra buttons even don't do much except confuse you sometimes trying to remember how to play these games. There are a couple of games that you could run across that may not work with one of these other controllers, even if you do the key mapping. It's just good idea to have one of these backups, just simple basic controllers on hand to make sure that you are getting everything to work correctly.
Now, you've never ever in your life set up a gaming emulator, so I know you used a lot of tutorial videos off of YouTube. Who were some of the people you used as your guide and your reference?
The Unbroken Software channel on YouTube is a really good channel just in general for emulators, just information on them and a good critique of the different ones. ETA Prime had a couple of older videos, mostly just so I could figure out what that setting was saying that it does. So I knew what information I need to go look for and put in there.
So it was fairly easy to set this up once you had a basic understanding of how RetroArch and Launchbox worked, correct?
Once I got a grasp on what RetroArch did and what Launchbox did and booted them up, it was pretty easy to go through the setup.
Yeah, and that's understandable because, you know, a lot of people think, oh, do I just need RetroArch? Do I need Launchbox? But actually, you could run all these games just under RetroArch.
Correct.
If you're not needing a nice little interface. What Launchbox allows you to do is go down and download the cover art and the gaming information, that kind of thing, and put everything in a nice, neat little interface. So, how was your emulation experience? I mean, did the games work like they were supposed to for the most part? I mean, is this something that you could take home and play with your 4-year-old and your 14-year-old daughter? Is it something easy enough your wife could use once you get it set up? I mean, what's your overall opinion of this?
Overall, the setup is pretty simple and basic. Launchbox makes it easy to interact with and use, so my kids can get in there and access, and RetroArch makes it easy to set up all this stuff to where they can just click on stuff and play it.
So would you recommend this to the average consumer user, or I mean, you've never ever set up anything like this before?
No.
I turned my back on you for 4 hours, turned around, you had it all up and running, so...
Most of that was playtime.
It can't be that complicated because you're totally an idiot when it comes to these. No, I'm just kidding. So, overall, would this be something you would recommend to somebody?
Yeah, if you have 45 minutes to get the basics set up and maybe another hour to do the fine-tuning to your preferences, after that, if you have an interest or you think your kids or somebody else in the family makes a great present, to set up one of these simple systems, I think it's a really good option.
All right, well, Gerry, I just want to say good job on that, and that's it. Anything else you'd like to say? Would you do it all again?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And in fact, fun? I plan on doing it again.
Did you have fun?
Yes, I did have fun.
All right, now, how does this, you built a RetroPie with me before.
Correct.
And we've actually run Launchbox we ran the RetroPie gaming experience on it. How would you compare that to this, power-wise? I mean, how is the gameplay compared between the two, the Raspberry Pi and a high-end Ryzen 5?
I didn't really see too much difference in the gameplay. The setup was a little bit easier on the RetroArch and Launchbox inside a full PC.
Yeah, because it's Windows.
But I didn't really see too much difference in the actual gameplay or the actual loading of anything.
So you'll continue to see this unit in upcoming videos. I'm going to have Gerry kind of take over this series of videos and and he'll teach you as he learns new stuff about RetroArch, Launchbox, and eventually Big Box we will put on this unit, and what kind of experience he's had with the gaming experience on this Ryzen 5 1600. He'll also be covering, how to integrate Steam and that kind of thing with it. So you got those videos to look forward to. So there you go, YouTube. It's going to do it for that video. And like I said, a big round of applause for Gerry. He did an excellent job on that. And look for that unit to reappear again in some upcoming videos. So anyway, we hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a thumbs up down below. Be nice to Gerry. Leave your comments in the comment section. And donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal and we take Patreon. And please don't forget that I will see all of you, not just part of you, on the other side.